Hey, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Elliot Spencer.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. On this week's show, experts have suggested that the state pension in the UK could be raised to the age of 70. While this is quite interesting, there's obviously bad news. Interestingly, I actually think the average millennial, me and you are both millennials. I know you look like you might be a bit older than millennial, but you sneak in.
Thanks.
No problem. I think they're in trouble anyway. So I've done a bit of research. I'm going to give this to you. I'd love to get your thoughts on it and what you think of pensions, right? So even without these changes, according to retirementlivingstandards.org.uk, for a moderate living standard for someone that's just retired, your pension would need to be paying you an annual amount of $23,300. Now, what that sort of is broken down to is £74 a week for food, a second-hand car, 2 weeks holiday, and £791 per year on clothing. Now, if you were trying to survive, you're an average millennial, on 23 grand a year, and you had £74 a week for food, how would you get on?
That's £10 a day. It's £3 a meal.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. I don't think I would. I mean, the clothing allowance, my wife blows that a week in TK Maxx.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I don't get how people can live on these numbers, on this budget. It's just ridiculous.
And that's what they call there's a basic living standard, there's a moderate, and then there's like a really comfortable. This is the moderate. But here's the thing, right? So what I thought was, well, let's take the average millennial. Mm-hmm. I went onto an online pension calculator and I thought, let's assess their situation. So apparently the average millennial at the moment has got 22 grand already sitting in their pension. So I put that in as a starting point. And then I assumed a slightly above average salary, but average salary of £36,000, which is what most millennials will probably be on. And I contributed 4% of my salary to pension. Obviously, a lot of people opt out, and I think 20 odd percent of people opt out and don't do this at all, but let's assume we did. And I also assumed that my company would match that and also give 4%. So I had 4% from me, 4% from my company, which I think is a fair,
Yeah.
This is someone that's sensible, right? This is someone that's doing well. I chose a retirement age of 68, and that way I can claim the state pension because that's 68 at the moment as well, although it might be 70 down the line, who knows. And even after all that, my 39 qualifying years of national insurance contributions, all the calculations in place, it was estimated that I would actually get 22,700, which is less than the moderate living standard. So, and that's someone who's on a decent salary, already got money in the pot, contributed, and even they won't do it. Now, depending on who you listen to, it's hard to know how many millennials are going to be in a position where they can retire, because it's kind of based a little bit on guesses, because we don't know what people are going to do. But they reckon it's up to 50% of millennials won't be able to afford to stop working. And that's with everything as it is. If they bring in these new changes how old do you think the retirement age will be when we finally get there?
It ain't going to be this side of 75, is it? I don't think.
I wouldn't know.
Maybe even 80.
Yeah, I think
I'd take, maybe 80. I mean, I'm 33. I've got 37 years to go. If it's at 70, you're at 35. You've got a 35 year. That's if it's at 70. Could be 80. There might not even be a state pension there for us when we get there.
No.
I don't think there will be, but it's crazy.
So what should someone, a millennial, someone like us that's thinking, you know what, I need to look after myself, I need to protect myself. What should they do? Should they, pay into their workplace pension and build it up slowly, or, make sure they're paying their national insurance contributions to get their state pension? Or is it not going to cut the mustard? What are your thoughts? I know you're pretty well studied when it comes to SIPs, SASs, and all sorts of pensions. What's your advice?
If you've got a good job and it's earning you a decent income, whether it be if it's 30, 40, 50 grand a year, and you can put in 4% and then your employer puts in the 4%, if you can put the maximum in and they can put the maximum in, I think it's worth doing. But I think you need to do more than that now. I think you need to be invested in something, whether it be property. I think that's the main one, whether it be gold, stocks, shares, crypto. I think you need to be doing more than just relying on a pension. And I don't think you can rely on a government pension at all, the state pension. Like I said, I truly don't think that'll be there by the time me and you get there. And if it is, there ain't going to be much left.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think I would still recommend, some people go, oh, don't even have a pension, it's stupid. I'm not quite that far. I kind of think...
I agree. I don't think pulling out of all the pensions is the right thing to do.
I mean, 22 grand, it's still 22 grand a year. You know, it's
even the state pension, which is £220 a week at the minute, it's 11.5 grand a year.
It's still
something.
money.
It's still money.
Yeah.
And it's still something.
I think you'd be stupid to turn that down. I mean, all the other taxes and everything, especially with the new workplace pensions, which actually did massively increase the amount of people that have pensions at all, because you have to actually opt out rather than opt in. So I think it's what I was going to say was with workplace pensions, because your employer matches it.
It's worth doing.
It's
absolutely.
free money as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But
I don't think it's enough.
I don't think it's enough either.
I think you need to be doing something else.
That's why we see people now. Do you know when we see like an old person walking down the street doing a paper round?
Yeah, or pushing trolleys in Tesco. It breaks my heart. And you got 70-year-olds in there pushing all the trolleys up to the supermarket because they just can't afford to live.
And in a recent survey as well, I don't think millennials are like blind to this. I think they kind of know. I think that 50% of millennials believe they'll never be able to retire. They think they're going to have to work forever. Now, to be honest, I'm not massively, I don't know about your thoughts on this, I'm actually not super bothered
I'm not bothered if I don't ever retire. I don't have a hard labour job.
No.
I've got I don't have an easy job, but I pick and choose what I do when I do and how I do it. That's the benefit, I suppose, of being a director of a limited company within the property industry. I'm very comfortable, but I don't work that hard. And I'll happily do what I do now up until the day I die.
Yeah, it's not like you're a bricklayer.
Exactly.
You've got no other skills, not going to be able to do it. I agree. Yeah. I actually enjoy.
I
enjoy working. I've got no intention to retire. I think that we're put on this earth to work. However, I'd like to be in a position where if stuff went wrong or if I had bad health, I'm not forced into working. So, knowing everything that we know about pensions, obviously you're not a massive fan. You've got one, which is great, but you're not relying on it.
No.
What you mentioned, sort of stocks and shares. You mentioned gold. You mentioned property. What are your personal strategies? What's your personal pension look like?
So my personal pension isn't a great deal. I don't. The only pension I pay into is a SIP pension, but that's only because you get the benefits of being able to invest the pension into commercial property. So that's worth doing for me later on down the line. Absolutely. I didn't create a workplace pension when I set up my company, so I don't pay in anything. But I do the state pension. All you've got to do for that is pay it's a national contribution through your national insurance. So it's worth doing. It's 11.5 grand a year at the minute. If there's anything there, it's worth doing. It doesn't cost me anything. I've just got to pay myself 12.5 grand a year, which is tax free anyway. So I get that. But like I said, I don't think it's enough. I don't think these pensions are enough anymore. So, as I mentioned earlier, property, absolutely. That's my main investment. That's what I only invest in. I don't do stocks and shares. I think it's too volatile. I don't do crypto because I don't know enough about it. And gold, I think gold's okay if you know what you're doing. But again, it's up and down, up and down, up and down. The great thing about property is if you look through the history books, it's always gone up in value. It's a pretty safe bet. It's as safe as houses. I think that's the term.
That's the saying, yeah.
That's the saying. I think it's a pretty safe bet.
I think gold's also a pretty safe bet, but it doesn't. Gold could get stolen.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Gold. It's always going to go up in value. I do believe in gold. But what I love about property is the way that with gold you've got the assets going up in value, which is great. With property, you've also got the assets going up in value, but then you've got the cash flow.
Yeah, you get paid twice. Yeah.
Which is
I love that.
Which is great. And also, leverage.
Yes. And if your house got bombed, you still own the land that it's sat on. It'll never be worthless.
No. Well, no one could steal your house.
Yeah.
No one's going to come, with gold, even, I know you can obviously get insured, etc., but,
True. Someone can go into your house at night and take it.
Or if you probably wouldn't want to keep, I wouldn't recommend keeping it in your own house. But wherever you keep it, it's got the potential. Whereas no one's going to pick your house up and walk off a bit.
True.
Although,
Very
having
true.
said that, you might get, if you left it vacant, you could get a squatter.
Yes.
You've got some squatters' rights and vacant. I've never had that happen.
No,
but
I haven't.
But it's possible.
Yeah, touch wood.
So your investment is property. Give me an example then of a sort of deal, maybe one of your most recent deals that you've done, and how that came about, and why you think that will protect you and give you sort of I suppose that property is your pension then, I suppose.
Absolutely. I've always said that the properties will be my pension. And if I need to sell them all for whatever reason when I get to 70, 75, then so be it. But I don't think I will. I know I'll be in a position where the mortgage is paid off, there's tenants in them, and that will be my pension. That will be what I survive off, and that'll be what I live off.
So give me an example of a deal that you've done recently then.
So beginning of the year, we bought a 3-bedroom house in Shropshire, Shrewsbury, where I live, where I'm from. We bought the house, it was in a terrible condition. We bought it for £178,000. It was very dated, it was very old. It was an absolute dive, to be fair. We spent £30,000 renovating it, doing it up.
Typical sort of Shropshire house.
Typical Shropshire house, 3 bedrooms, semi-detached, nothing fancy about it, but nice.
No, I meant a dive.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. No, it's all right. I like it.
Yeah.
It's better than Walsall.
This
no
is
offence
true.
to anybody from Walsall. Walsall's a great place.
Well, we're both from Walsall.
We're both from Walsall, so we can diss it, but yeah. Anyway, so we bought it for £178,000. We spent £30,000 doing it up. And it's actually gone on the market today for £250,000, and it's in immaculate condition, and it will sell. And I'll make a £40,000 profit.
Can I just say something to you? Before we started, I said, could you keep your mouth within 12...
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You
Go
did.
back to where you were.
You did, I'm sorry.
I said, could you keep your mouth within 12 inches of the mic? Now, I just want to know, if you think that is 12 inches... Like, I am super impressed. I'm like, that is phenomenal. So is that... That was my
That's about 12. That's about 12, isn't it?
About 12 inches.
That's about 12.
I said 6 to 12.
6
so
to 12,
that's
okay.
impressive, bro. That is, fair play. Anyway,
Yeah.
now we all know something new about Elliot.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Where were we? It's just been valued at £250,000.
So how much did you buy it for? Sorry.
178.
So you bought it for 178.
Spent 30 doing the renovation, so with 208 total spend.
208 total spend. And when did you buy it?
Bought it we completed in November 2023. So just under 12 months ago.
Okay. So it's gone. So it's 208 total money in. It's now worth 250.
Yeah, that's what it's gone on the market for today.
So you've made 40. So you're selling it.
Yes.
Okay.
We're selling this one.
So it's not going to be a pension. This one, then, is it?
No, this one's not going to be a pension. But the
this one's cash flow. Spend at TK Maxx.
Well, it's not even cash flow. It's
lump sum.
It's lump sum. Yeah, it's lump sum to be able to put back into another one. That's what it is. A bigger one, a better one. Something bigger, something grander, something nicer.
Something in Beaconsfield?
No. Maybe. No, I don't think so. The idea was to run it as serviced accommodation. And we have done. We've trialled it, and it was okay. It cleaned its face. It washed its face. It paid for the mortgage. It paid for the bills. It washed its face, but it wasn't. We weren't. It was never gonna set the world alight. So
where is it?
It's in Shrewsbury. It's in a really good area.
In the city centre of Shrewsbury.
It's just outside. It's an SY1 postcode.
Yeah, you would have thought that would do.
It does all right. It does okay. It does okay. There's just so much competition. Now ours is one of the premium ones. Ours is brand new. It's modern. It's beautiful. It's nice.
Do you know Lichfield?
Yes.
Do you know how much I'm making a year? I've basically made the same amount 3 years in a row. Well, on track to make it this year. Do you know how much I'm making a year there?
30 to 40 grand.
I'm talking profit now.
Profit, okay. 15 to 20.
Yeah, it's about 15.
15.
Is Shrewsbury not doing like that? Because I would have thought, the reason I'm using that as an example is I would have thought that they're very similar type areas, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. So, in truth, I don't need the cash flow from it. We've got others in the area. We've got one in Bridge North, which is just up the road, Shropshire. We've got one in Bridge North, which makes us about 15 grand a year. Now, we've got others, but I don't need the cash flow. I don't need the 15 grand a year. What I need is the 50k lump sum, because I want to put it into something else. I want to put it in something that will give me a pension, that will give me a better return.
If you refinanced it, how much would it be? All money out deal?
No, I'd have to leave the refurb in. I'd probably pull out about 20
cash today.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be quite enough to go and do another one.
No, not the next one that I want to do.
Okay.
No.
See, my main strategy, I agree. The BRR, obviously, you're flipping it. It's very similar. Other than if I can, I want to keep it.
Absolutely, I agree.
I want to keep it.
I do agree.
And then I'm very happy to mortgage it to the hilt. I think more people that pay off their mortgages, I don't think it makes any sense.
No, it doesn't. No.
Even with mortgage rates right now as like high as they've ever been, although they are on the way down, and we know that in a few years it will be a lot less than it is now. But even with mortgage rates like they are, I still think it makes total sense to refinance them as often as you can.
Absolutely.
And then reinvest those funds.
Get into as much debt as possible. No, I agree.
Because money's shrinking. If you're in 150 grand's worth of debt today, and you're still in 150 grand's worth of debt in 25 years on the same property, but your property is now worth
double or triple,
quadruple maybe if you've got 20 years, but yeah, double whatever. That 150 grand, not only is your asset worth a lot more, but that 150 grand, we know it ain't going to be worth 150 grand in that in 20 years. It's going to be worth like, what is inflation at the moment? Like, well, even on average, it's 2%, but that's been like 10% and stuff at times. It's going to be worth way less.
I agree. I do agree. I do agree with what you're saying. Absolutely. I just want the lump sum from this one.
Yeah, fair enough.
To put it into the next one, that we will do that.
And so, what sort of deal are you looking for next?
So we want to go bigger. We're thinking of maybe doing some HMOs, possibly.
Okay.
Another one that I really want to do, I've got my heart set on, and something I've wanted to do for a while is because of where we live, it's very rural. And I know a few places that are doing it, and I know that they're doing very well from it, is land with lodges on, glamping, pods, lodges, hot tubs, that sort of stuff. And then, charging it's sort of a serviced accommodation again, but instead of a property, it's,
just land.
It's just land and lodges, yeah.
We've just recently bought a hotel up in the Peak District.
Okay.
And it's got a glamping feel. At the moment, it's got nothing on there, but it's got a glamping feel. Once we've got the building up and running, that's our plan, is to add some pods. It's got planning permission for it already in place.
Love that.
Yeah, so I've never done that before.
You show me how it's done when you've done it.
I will.
Come and get some tips off you.
I'm doing it with Tim, and he's going to build them.
Wow, okay.
So it'd be very, because we sort of did it as a joint venture with my mom and Tim.
Yeah.
So they're managing it. We bought it, we put the money in, but they're managing it for us.
Love that.
So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting, because I've never done glamping pods.
No, that'll be really interesting. And your mom and Tim have obviously got a real good knowledge of the area, of the Peak District.
Well, they live there.
They live there. They've got stuff up there.
Yeah.
My mom's got stuff up there with your mom.
Has she?
Yeah. So no, that'd be really good. That'll work. That'll work really well.
So if let's say you were Joe Blogs, you were this guy that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You're on 36 grand a year. You're in a normal job.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about what we do, properties, borrowing.
Do you know what scares me the most? Here's what scares me the most. They talk about generation rent. Millennials never been able to buy property because they're in 20 to 30 grand a year jobs. The average nurse in London, I looked this up before the show, the average nurse in London earns about £27,000 a year. The average house price in London is probably somewhere between £400,000 to £500,000. So you've got to save 40 to 50 grand to be able to have a 10% deposit to buy a house, which is double your salary. That's let's say you saved all your earnings for 2 years, didn't spend a penny to get out on the housing market, right? To buy your first house. Now, let's say that this nurse goes on to live in rental up until she's of retirement age. When she receives this pension, which is 23, 24 grand a year, which you're still taxed on, and then you've still got to pay your rent, I just can't see how people are going to survive. If you're on 23 to 24 grand a year as a pension and your house is paid off, you might get away with it. It's still going to be tough, but you're in a bit of a better position than the person who's still renting, because rent's not going down, rents are going up, rents are still going up, and that rental figure isn't disappearing.
They're probably going to be forced into a HMO or
exactly. Can you imagine your nan and granddad living in rooms in a HMO?
Nah, it sucks, doesn't it?
It does suck. Or your nan and granddad having to go and get a job down at Morrison's.
All right, so what's your advice then? Rather than like, I agree with you, by the way. It's a problem, which is why we're talking about it. It is definitely a problem, and that's why we actually think what she's probably going to do is have to get another job, or carry on being a nurse and not retire, right?
Yeah.
But what's the solution then? Let's say take this guy. He's on an average decent salary. He's on 36 grand. What should he do? Should he put his 8% into his pension?
I think you need to put as much as you can into your workplace pension, and I think you need to keep going with your national insurance for your state pension. But I also think you need to then start putting money aside into something else, whether that be property or whatever, or start a business. Start a business. Set yourself up as a limited company, and set yourself up doing something. But I don't want to. I can't bang on about how much property. I think is the vehicle. I think is the way forward. If you look at the sort of the Sunday Times rich list, anybody on there, they're all somewhere along the way. They've all invested in property.
Yeah, well, I think like 30% of them have actually made their money from property, but I'm sure you're right. I'm sure the others all own property.
There we go.
All own property as well.
I think property, absolutely.
What I would say is there's two things to bear in mind. If you're on 36 grand a year, number one, when you retire, you're going to be on 23, right? So the first thing I'd say is...
And you're still taxed on that?
Yeah. Put 10% aside, for example, straight away to invest. You need to start putting money. And if you go, oh, I can't afford it, well, bear in mind, are you going to be able to afford to live off 22 grand when you're going to be screwed, right?
Yeah.
So put 10% aside to invest, even if you can't afford it. That's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is I'd focus on things that will bring in more money now. So when they did a study on rich people, for like a 40-year study, and they were like, right, what do rich people have in common? Now, if I asked you, what's the number one thing rich people have in common? You might say things like, they know how to manage their money, they know how to invest, they've got a rich mindset, all these things that we all talk about that are really important. But none of those were the most important thing. The most important thing way outperformed all those indicators. And do you know what it was?
Knowledge?
Not knowledge.
Mindset.
Not mindset. It's kind of obvious when you think about it, right? But the number one thing was they had a high income.
Okay,
right.
Fair enough.
So although you do have people, like, have you heard the story of Ronald Reagan?
Right, yeah.
So he's like the guy in America who was like a caretaker.
Yeah.
And he slowly saved up, like 36, he saved 10%. And he invested it in the stocks and shares, and then he reinvested all his winnings. And when he retired, he lived in a little crappy house, and no one knew he was rich. He had a net worth of $8 million, right? Because he diligently saved up and he's kept his lifestyle really low. While there are people that are like that kind of buck the trend, the number one thing is you just need to earn a lot of money. So how do you earn a lot of money? Well, I think property is great for that as well, right? Because property, we just mentioned the Sunday Times rich list, and you're in an industry where everything's expensive. We're talking houses, everything's thousands of pounds. So if you could just get in that industry, how many deals have you sold?
Over 200.
Over 200 deals.
Yeah.
What was the average sourcing fee on
$3 grand a fee.
$3 grand a fee. That's £600,000 that you've made just finding a good deal and then passing it on to an investor. Now, that's the same skill that you had there as someone that does like Vinted or something. Just someone that goes finding a good deal at a charity shop and then selling the product on. But they make a £5 because they're dealing in low numbers. Because you're dealing in property, you're making $3 grand. Right? Okay. So rent to rent, similar, is brilliant strategy. If you've got no money, it's the first thing I would do. I start saving 10%. Then what I'd do is I'd start looking at other ways. I think property is a good way, but there are many others. Of bringing in extra money, because you don't have enough money. You 36 grand, it just isn't going to cut it for you long term. Then what I'd do is I'd save all that money and start investing it wisely in things like the deals that you're doing, where you're putting your money in, recycling it, you're flipping it, you're getting more money, and then that just snowballs, right? And then if you're in a situation, one of these people where they had, I don't know, we talked about 15 grand of property from a serviced accommodation property you own. If you had 5 of them and you were earning, well, we'll say 6 of them and you're earning 100 grand a year, you're made for life. You're laughing.
Yeah.
You got all these assets going up in value. You could sell them if you wanted to when you're retired. If you wanted just to blow the money, but you don't have to. You could live off the 100 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're absolutely made. But I don't think you can rely on a job and the government.
No, you
You
can't.
have to go out there and do it for yourself.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And I think that's the way to do it. Any final thoughts? Any pearls of wisdom?
Any pearls of wisdom?
Oh, here we go. This is going to be... Now, guys, just brace yourself for a second, right? The pearl of wisdom that's about to drop is going to be... This will be worth listening to the whole show just for this moment. So brace yourself. Elliot, take it away.
Do you know what my red diamond moment was? When I went
Do you know what? I was joking, but this is going to actually be good now. Go on.
My red diamond moment when I went from being broke to doing well in life.
Go on.
My red diamond moment was when I bumped into Samuel at my brother's wedding and I said, hey, you've done really well in life. I haven't done so well in life. We had the same education. We had the same teachers. We had the same opportunities in life. But you just took them and I didn't. Why? Why did Samuel go on to be a millionaire at 20 and I'm still broke? Because he invested...
Plumber.
Fat
plumber.
Broke, fat
plumber.
With my ass
Bloke,
out.
fat, bad plumber.
Terrible plumber. Why is it that he's...
He was terrible. I actually got him to do some work for us. He was shocking. Carry on.
Why is it that he's a millionaire at 20, 21 and I'm not? Well, he invested in a mentor. He got educated and he invested. My red diamond moment was when I did the same. I invested in Samuel to train me and to teach me to everything that he knew. And if I hadn't have done that, I would still be in that position.
Broke fat plumber.
Yeah.
Broke fat bad plumber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earning 20, 25, 30 grand a year, paying into a state pension and maybe a workplace pension, and I'll probably have about 20, 25 grand to retire on. And I'll probably still be in rented accommodation, so I'll probably still have about £1,000, 1,200 quid a month rent coming out when I'm 70, 75. It's scary.
It is scary. So people what should they do? Get booked onto the crash course?
Come down to the crash course. Absolutely. That's where I started.
But it's going to be really expensive, isn't it? I mean, how much was a ticket to the property investor crash course?
I was already broke.
Right.
So paying £1 really hurt me.
It's £1?
It's £1.
Ooh, that's like 100 pence. That is. That is quite a lot.
It is a lot, but...
So, yeah, I'll put a link below. You'll normally go to the crash course.
I'll be there.
Yeah, you work there now.
Say hello.
So if you want to find out how to get started in property, get on down to the Property Investors Crash Course. I will pop a link in the description below. I'll be there as well. I'm going to be there as well.
Nice.
I'm going to come to Birmingham and Manchester.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. We can go to the Red Lion.
Mate, we should do it.
We'll go to the Red Lion.
We'll go to the Red... Oh, hold on. Now everyone's going to know. We'll go to the Blue Lion.
The Blue Lion.
Yeah, we'll go to the Blue Lion. It's going to be good. All right, guys. Thanks ever so much for watching. Hopefully, we'll see you at the Property Investors Crash Course. Hope you found that useful. I've been Russell Leeds.
I'm Elliot Spencer.
And we'll see you next week.